A man who grew up sleeping on cardboard boxes in Manila, who sold donuts and cleaned gyms just to stay alive, rose to the top of boxing and won world titles in 8 weight classes. Manny Pacquiao made hundreds of millions of dollars, became a national hero, entered politics, and then watched as lawsuits, tax troubles, broken deals, failed campaigns, and personal struggles chipped away at nearly everything he built. So let's look at how the most celebrated fighter in the Philippines ended up fighting battles he could never win with his fists. There is a certain kind of poverty that shapes a person to the core. Not the kind where you miss a vacation or drive an older car, but the kind where your father kills the family dog because there is no food left in the house. Emmanuel Dapadran Pacquiao was born on December 17, 1978, in Kibawe, Bukidnon, on the island of Mindanao, Philippines. He was the fourth of 6 siblings. His family's poverty was so extreme that his father was forced to kill their pet dog for food. Mindanao, where Pacquiao spent his earliest years, is the second largest island in the Philippines and one of its poorest regions. While the capital city of Manila shone with wealth and opportunity, Mindanao was, and in many ways still is, a world apart. The poverty in rural Mindanao was not just economic, it was existential. Families did not wonder how they would afford luxuries. They wondered if they would eat that day. His parents separated when he was in 6th grade after his father had an affair. His mother, Dionysia, was left to raise 6 children on her own. The separation was not just emotionally crushing, it was financially disastrous. A single mother with 6 kids to feed in one of the poorest parts of the Philippines had no government help to rely on. No welfare system, no unemployment benefits. There was only survival. Manny sold bread on the streets, the kind of work children do when childhood itself is a luxury the family cannot afford. He collected scrap paper to sell by weight. He took any odd job that would pay even a few pesos. And when the choice came between continuing his education or helping his family survive, there was no choice at all. He dropped out of school in 6th grade because of extreme poverty. There was no safety net. There was no plan. There was survival, and that was it. At age 12, having left school behind, he dropped out to pursue boxing and moved in with his uncle Sardo Mejia in a 1-story home in the southern Philippine city of General Santos. Mejia, who had no formal training as a fighter, would become the future star's first boxing coach. The training was basic. There was no modern gym, no nutritionist, no sports psychologist. There was a makeshift ring, worn gloves, and a dream that seemed impossible from where they stood at BY-15. Pacquiao was seen as one of the best young boxers in the country and often fought in a public park in General Santos. Those park fights were brutal, unregulated events where spectators bet on the outcomes and fighters earned whatever the crowd was willing to toss their way. It was in those dusty public parks that Pacquiao developed what would become his trademark style: relentless aggression, blinding hand speed, and a complete refusal to back down, no matter how much punishment he took. Still, the teenager wanted more than General Santos could offer. So he stowed away on a ship headed for Manila. This was not a ticketed trip with a plan and contacts waiting on the other side. This was a desperate gamble by a 14-year-old boy who believed that Manila, the capital where dreams either came true or died in the gutter, was his only shot at something better. When he arrived in the city, he slept on cardboard boxes. The cardboard was not a metaphor, it was real. Streets became his bedroom. Doorways became his shelter. He sold donuts in the morning, offering them to commuters and office workers for a few pesos each. He cleaned boxing gyms in exchange for the right to train, scrubbing floors and washing gear just to get by, all while continuing to sharpen his skills and move up the ranks. At 14, Pacquiao lived on Manila's streets, worked as a construction laborer, and had to choose between feeding himself or sending money to his mother. Every peso he earned was a decision: eat today or let his mother eat tomorrow. Some days he chose his mother. Those were the days he went hungry. That is the world Manny Pacquiao came from. That is the foundation on which everything else was built. The following year, at just 16 years old, Pacquiao turned professional and made his official debut as a junior flyweight in 1995. His first pro fight took place on January 22, 1995, when he faced Edmund Enting Ignacio. Pacquiao won by decision, earning what by Western standards would be considered almost nothing. But by his own standards, it was more money than he had ever held at one time. The path from there was neither smooth nor guaranteed. 3 years later, in 1998, he won the WBC flyweight title, his first major championship, defeating defending champion Chatchai Sasakal. He was barely out of his teenage years and already a world champion. The win was a huge event in the Philippines. Here was a kid from the slums, a school dropout who had slept on cardboard boxes, now holding a world title. The story was irresistible. But things moved fast, and success came with its own dangers. The hunger that had driven Pacquiao to the top also made him reckless. In 1996, still early in his pro career, he faced Rustico Torrecampo. Torrecampo, who had only 5 knockouts in his career, was not considered a serious threat, but he landed several big shots and knocked Pacquiao out 30 seconds into round 3. That was his first professional loss. For a fighter who had staked everything on boxing, who had no backup plan and no education to fall back on, a knockout loss was more than just a defeat. It was a threat to his survival. Most fighters would have crumbled. Pacquiao lifted himself back up after his first loss by going on a 15-fight win streak. Within that time, he also won the WBC flyweight title by beating defending champion Chatchai Sasakal. The win streak rebuilt his confidence and his reputation. Promoters started paying attention. The Filipino press started calling him a national treasure. And then came the second crushing knockout, Medgone Singsurat. In 1999, Pacquiao took on Medgone Singsurat in his second title defense at age 21. Singsurat held an unblemished 18-0 record and was the same age as Manny when he fought for his first world title. The fight was supposed to cement Pacquiao's status as a dominant flyweight champion. It did the opposite. Unfortunately for Pacquiao, he was once again knocked out in the cursed third round, losing his world title within a year of claiming it. Despite dominating the opening rounds, the pattern was troubling. Pacquiao would start strong, overwhelm his opponent with speed and volume, and then in the third round, something would go wrong. A single punch would change everything. He would hit the canvas, and the title would be gone. Most fighters would have been buried by 2 knockout losses before turning 22. Pacquiao was not most fighters. He rebuilt. He moved up in weight. And here is where the truly remarkable part of the Pacquiao story begins. Most boxers spend their entire careers in one weight class. Moving up even a single division is considered a major risk. Pacquiao would eventually conquer 8. He kept winning, and the world started paying attention. The wins piled up, the titles accumulated, the weight classes changed, but the results did not. Over the course of an illustrious 25-year career, Pacquiao dominated his competition, rising to become an 8-weight world champion, a lineal champion in 5 separate weight classes, and the only boxer to hold world championships across 4 decades. By 2015, his 25 pay-per-view fights had generated more than $1 billion in revenue. Think about that number for a moment, $1 billion from a kid who once had to choose between eating and sending money to his mother. The financial shift was shocking, almost hard to believe. Pacquiao defeated 22 world champions, including Juan Manuel Marquez twice, David Diaz, Oscar de la Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, Shane Mosley, Brandon Rios, Timothy Bradley twice, Chris Algieri, Jesse Vargas, Lucas Mathis, Adrian Broner, and most recently Keith Thurman. Some of those names, de la Hoya, Hatton, Cotto, Mosley, were already legends when Pacquiao fought them. He didn't just beat them, he took them apart. Pacquiao made history by being the first boxer ever to win world titles in 8 weight divisions, having claimed 12 major world titles. He was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people for 2009, for his achievements in boxing and his influence among the Filipino people. The Time recognition was not just about boxing. It was about what Pacquiao represented. Proof that even the most crushing poverty could be overcome. He became a national symbol. When he fought, crime in the Philippines stopped. This was not folklore or exaggeration. Police departments reported measurable drops in crime rates during Pacquiao fights. Streets emptied. Entire cities went silent except for the roar from television sets. The whole country held its breath. Criminals took the night off because even they wanted to watch Manny fight. And then, With the money pouring in and the fame reaching crazy heights, Manny Pacquiao started to destroy himself. A series of successful matches turned Pacquiao into a wealthy athlete, party animal, gambler, and serial womanizer. The kid who once chose between eating and sending money to his mother was now drowning in excess. The change was not gradual. It was sudden, total, and destructive. "There was a problem in our family because the fame went to my head," Pacquiao admitted. "I know how to gamble. I know how to drink. A lot of girl chasing, like that." It was not casual indulgence. It was a full-blown lifestyle overhaul. Manny gave himself over to partying, drinking, gambling, and womanizing. The parties were legendary. The drinking was constant. The gambling became compulsive, and the women were everywhere. Cockfighting consumed his free time. In the Philippines, cockfighting, or sabong, is a deep cultural tradition, but Pacquiao took it to an extreme. He owned thousands of roosters. He built large facilities to house them. He would bet huge sums on individual fights, sometimes losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single afternoon. The addiction was not about the money. He had more money than he could spend. It was about the rush, the thrill, the same adrenaline that drove him in the boxing ring. Nights at casinos ate up his earnings. Pacquiao would fly to Macau, Las Vegas, or Manila's own casinos and lose millions at the tables. Friends and associates described seeing him drop $100,000, $200,000, sometimes more in a single night. When you are earning tens of millions per fight, those losses seem manageable, but they added up. And the gambling was not limited to casinos and cockfighting. Pacquiao would bet on basketball games, on card games, on anything that offered action. Women who were not his wife took his attention. The affairs were not discreet. In some cases, they were barely hidden. Pacquiao has a child out of wedlock and also, according to reports that his friends and associates confirmed, had an extramarital affair with an actress he met more than a decade ago. The actress was well known in the Philippines. The affair was an open secret within Pacquiao's inner circle. Pacquiao's indiscretions were not unknown to his wife, Jin Key, but it was Pacquiao's affair with the actress that almost broke his marriage. This was not tabloid gossip from unnamed sources. This was confirmed by people who worked directly with Pacquiao, who saw the relationship firsthand. At the time, there were even separate teams rooting for the wife and for the actress within the athlete's own boxing camp. As the actress would also join the training sessions, the boxing camp, the place where Pacquiao was supposed to be focused on preparing for fights, had become a soap opera. Trainers, sparring partners, managers, and staff split into factions. Some sided with Jin Key, the loyal wife who had stood by Pacquiao since before the money came. Others were charmed by the actress, who was beautiful, attentive, and present in ways that Jin Key, who was raising their children, could not always be in a 2011 Philippine Star article. Jin Key said that Pacquiao had plans to leave the family to be with the actress. By then, the husband and wife were no longer talking for 4 months. 4 months of silence in a marriage. 4 months, Pacquiao's children watched their parents live in the same house but refused to speak to one another. His own wife gave an interview where she described the depth of the betrayal. Jin Key said they had plans of moving in together. There were other girls linked to him before, but even Manny said that woman is different. The woman is caring and she hangs out with the boys of the team when there is a boxing fight. The fact that even Pacquiao admitted this woman was different showed how serious the affair had become. This was not just another fling. This was a relationship that threatened to permanently destroy his family. Pacquiao's marriage teetered on the edge. His finances were bleeding from gambling and lavish spending. The man who had once been so careful with money, who had sent every spare peso to his mother even when he was starving, was now burning through millions with nothing to show for it. When members of his own family needed help, when people from his hometown came to him with emergencies, Manny, the champion boxer, was unable to help because he had spent all his money on foolish things, gambling and women. That was his lowest point, to realize he had fame and position and yet had failed his family. The realization hit him during a particularly dark moment alone in a hotel room somewhere between fights, between parties, between affairs. Then came the reckoning. Pacquiao said, "I was alone in my room and I was crying uncontrollably. I asked myself, what should I do? During this time, Pacquiao did not like himself and described himself as an alcoholic, a womanizer, and a gambling addict. The self-awareness was brutal and complete. He looked at himself and what he had become and was disgusted. The kid from the slums, who had overcome impossible odds to become a world champion, had turned into exactly the kind of person he would have once despised. His associates described the change as abrupt and total. The years 2009 to 2012 saw Pacquiao undergo what his friends call a radical change. The shift was not gradual. It was sudden, dramatic, and to those who knew him, almost unbelievable. On his 32nd birthday in 2010, Pacquiao received a Bible as a gift that would later prove important in his transformation. Growing up in a Roman Catholic family, he became a Christian in 2012, surprising his family, friends, and associates. The surprise was not that he became religious. Filipinos are overwhelmingly Christian, and Pacquiao had been raised Catholic. The surprise was the intensity of his conversion, the completeness with which he embraced it. Manny described a dream like this: "I was in a jungle. I saw a light brighter than the sun. It went through my bones and my body. I heard God's voice saying, 'Son, why did you leave me? Why are you away from me?' The dream shook him to his core." In interviews afterward, Pacquiao would describe it as the most vivid, most real experience of his life. More real than any boxing match, more real than any victory or defeat. He woke up convinced that God had spoken to him directly, that he had been given a second chance, and that if he did not take it, there would be no third. After that dream, everything shifted. Arnold Vagafria, Pacquiao's longtime business manager, said that since then, he stopped all his vices. Pacquiao gave away his thousands of roosters used for cockfighting. Thousands of birds worth millions of pesos, just given away. Now he would correct his staff who drank or gambled. The man who had once led the parties was now shutting them down. The change extended to every part of his life. He stopped drinking entirely. The gambling stopped. The affairs stopped. He reconciled with Jin Ki, begged for her forgiveness, and committed himself to rebuilding their marriage. He started attending church services regularly, not just for show, but with genuine devotion. He began reading the Bible daily, sometimes for hours at a time. By late 2009, Manny and Jin Ki were able to work things out. The reconciliation was not easy. Jin Ki had every reason to walk away, to take the children and